The curtain lifts on a truth the tabloids only half dared to whisper, the evolution of Barış Baktas from the boy no one looked at twice into the man entire boulevards in Europe stopped to stare at, and the woman, Yağmur Yüksel, whose presence turned his rise into something even more irresistible. Welcome to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Before we dive in, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and get ready to spill your thoughts in the comments, because tonight's tale is not just a story, it's a pulse. The rumor that kept resurfacing for years suddenly found a microphone, and he didn't flinch. He said it with that disarming grin. When he was born, he was covered in hair. The room laughed, but somewhere in there was the echo of his father's stunned voice, "This can't be my son." And yet here we are, watching him glide through airports like a storm, a sex symbol anointed by millions, with Yağmur at his side like a lighthouse, steady, luminous, impossible to ignore. Most people only see the present, the sharp jawline, the smoky gaze, the international script slipped across polished tables. They forget that before the poster shoots and the champagne, Barış was the definition of ordinary. As a kid, he blended in. As a teen, he planned a future with more textbooks than spotlights. Law school was the road everyone around him understood, a respectable career, a schedule that made sense, a life built on reason rather than electricity. Acting never seemed like a plan, it sounded like a joke told at midnight between exams. But fate doesn't always announce itself politely. It nudges. It teases. It drops a sentence in a friend's mouth and waits. "Why don't you try acting?" He laughed it off, then listened, then stepped into a class just to see. The camera blinked, the room went quiet, and the first spark rewrote everything. A few seasons later, his name was stitched into primetime, and whispers about his tough yet tender pull turned into signatures on contracts. Fans multiplied. And then, in the distant hum of a crowd, another name began to be chanted alongside his, Yağmur. At first, their paths brushed like strangers passing under the same marquee. Then the meetings grew less accidental. Her career was surging too, all warm-blooded eyes and a calm that swallowed chaos whole. People noticed how he stood straighter when she was near, how she laughed with him when the lenses lingered too long, how she stepped back when he needed the light and forward when the room felt cold. Together, they gathered fans across borders, first Italy, then Spain, then everywhere Spanish or Italian was spoken and a love story could be built from gestures alone. It wasn't just the looks. It was the discipline. 12-hour days, 6-day weeks, endless retakes. Barış sculpted himself for roles that demanded steel and vulnerability in equal parts, and he surprised even casting directors with how fiercely he guarded that contrast. When negotiations began for the El Turco to the European markets, the tone shifted. This wasn't a home court win anymore. This was a statement. The training became brutal, the accent work relentless, and the silence before action felt like a storm brewing behind his ribcage. Then came Spain, and with it the kind of electricity only a country that falls hard can provide. The press, usually eager to flatten men like him into clichés, took a second look. Maybe it was the unguarded way he spoke about failure. Maybe it was how often he mentioned Yağmur, even when no one asked. Maybe it was the way he worked the room with calm, then retreated to breathe and reset, the classic dance of someone who knows fame is a wild animal and treats it with a mixture of respect and command. He arrived to promote the Turk, but Spain met a person, not a poster. And then, because fate knows good television when it sees it, the invitation arrived, El Hormiguero. If you know, you know. The kind of show where jokes melt into confessions and something you didn't plan to say slips right out, chased by applause. Pablo Motos, the captain of that ship, didn't waste a second. "They say you were very ugly as a baby," he teased, eyes flashing. The audience roared, and the camera slid in tight. Barış didn't blink. He told the story himself like it was a bedtime fable, only the hero hadn't learned he was a hero yet. "As soon as I was born, I was hair. So much hair they could have taken me straight to the barber." He grinned and added the line that would sprint around social media in a matter of minutes, "My father told the doctors, you must have mixed him up with someone else, Because this can't be my son. The internet did what the internet does, cut the clip, looped the laugh, blasted the headline. Sex symbol says he was ugly as a baby. But the best part came afterward, in the green room, when Yağmur leaned in and whispered something that made him throw his head back. Later, when fans begged her to share it, she only smiled. Some stories, the couple keeps for themselves. When he joked that people had tried to make him look worse and failed, it sounded like a dare and a love letter to the work all at once. Some said it was too bold. Others said it was exactly the kind of mischief that keeps men like him interesting. The truth? There are mirrors everywhere in this business, and most of them lie. You can only hold your gaze so long before the reflections argue with you. Barış learned to laugh first, to tell the story before the tabloids bend it, to own the past so thoroughly that no one could weaponize it. And if anyone thought that charm was a substitute for skill, they weren't paying attention. He trained, he studied, he ground his edges against languages and histories that didn't belong to him until they did. Meanwhile, Yağmur, ever the compass, developed her own quiet armor, radiating ease in public and fire on set, anchoring red carpets with a hand on his arm and the certainty that talent endures even when the noise gets loud. Spain proved beauty alone is never enough. Fluency, that was the key. Long before El Hormiguero, the Italian sets had turned his ears to new rhythms, and the promise of Sandokan made him greedy for more. He told his agent plainly, "I want to come to Spain, to live it, to work it, to earn it." And so the schedule hardened. 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, for a year. Tongue twisters, diction drills, the kind of practice that humbles you. The result was undeniable. He didn't just order coffee in Spanish, he told stories in it, argued in it, dreamed in it. When the butterfly labyrinth began shooting, entirely in Spanish, he didn't fake his way through. He lived it. The crew teased him at first, but then they heard him run a monologue twice, 3 times, hitting the same emotional target from 3 different angles, and the teasing turned into respect. In the meantime, Yağmur picked up phrases with dangerous speed. Hola turned into long clips where she charmed entire interview panels, and fans in Madrid and Barcelona began referring to them with the kind of collective nickname reserved for couples who feel inevitable. Just as the Spanish arc crested, a storm rolled in from Istanbul and threw shade where none was invited. A rumor, recycled from whispers and fueled by a midnight police sweep at a nightclub, shot across social feeds like sparks in a dry forest. Detained, released, what really happened? Suddenly, people who had never met him were certain they knew. It could have been a spiral, the kind that eats months and reputations. Instead, he cut straight through the fog. To Vertel, he laid it out without perfume, "They do this to everyone. I wasn't special. Many celebrities were taken in before I even arrived." The industry buzzed, "Is there a thread we're missing?" The answer came as calmly as it needed to. "I was detained and released immediately. We had nothing. I flew to Italy the next day. Period." The conversation tried to stumble onward, but there's only so much oxygen a rumor can steal when the truth doesn't flinch. Through it all, Yağmur didn't raise her voice. She posted a photo, simple and bright, captioned with one steady word in Spanish that said everything, Juntos. Fame, meanwhile, refused to behave. Crowds curled around hotels like waves. Every country meant a new tide of camera flashes, a new chorus of marriage rumors, envy rumors, chaos rumors. Some called him too ambitious, as if ambition were a sin instead of a map. Others called him overly confident, as if confidence weren't the only life vest that keeps you floating when the water gets rough. A few insisted he was a storm no one could control. But when he and Yağmur stepped onto the same carpet, all of that noise softened. "He is the thunder, she is the echo," someone wrote, and you could see why. He built a life where the boy who once felt invisible now has to hide just to breathe. She turned the hiding into a kind of art, a way of giving him back to himself between obligations. Together, they kept writing a story that began as an ugly duckling joke and became a lesson in velocity, what it takes to transform, what it costs to remain transformed, how to hold hands through crosswinds. There's a price to every spotlight. The first is time, and he gives it without blinking, hours on dialects, hours in stunt rooms, hours smoothing the edges of fear until they shine. The second is skin, and he grew thicker layers than most, not to block the world out, but to stay soft where it matters. He learned to laugh at the meme even when the meme was him. He learned to let the glass door swing shut on gossip and open wide on opportunity. And always, there is discipline. 4 hours of Spanish a day for months, sitting at the back of rooms where no one clapped, starting from zero on projects that demanded 100 by dawn. If you think this is about looks, you're listening to the wrong story. This is about choices. The choice to step toward Spain instead of waiting for Spain to arrive. The choice to welcome a new market in a new language and still protect the fire that made him worth watching in the first place. The choice to build a love that stands up when the weather turns and to fold that love into the work without letting it be consumed. So what now? Does Barış push the ascent higher, anchor himself in Madrid as planned, and explode into a new tier that even his fiercest supporters haven't imagined? Does the Turk rewrite his name in the European imagination the way a single song can rewire a summer? Does the butterfly labyrinth help audiences hear him differently in a language he earned one syllable at a time? Or does the altitude bring bigger storms, the kind that make even steady hands tremble? Tell me what you think. Is he overrated or exactly where he deserves to be? Does the boy who was told he wasn't the right baby inspire you to believe in reinvention? Drop your thoughts below, and if this ride made your heart beat a little faster, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Because here on Turkish Spotlight Secrets, we don't just watch the headlines. We chase the heat behind them, we hold the camera steady when the truth walks in, and we promise to bring you back to the stories that won't stop burning long after the lights go out. See you in the next one, amigos of the Spotlight, where the secrets are never quite done telling themselves.